Welcome to Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. My name is VashSky, your host for today's ceremonies, and here is the Spectre with that Hollywood nectar. I did it! I got something
God! Oh
I know,
my God!
I know. I feel so proud of myself. LW Ghost, Lou, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. How about with you?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, I just been checking that box office there, and boy, oh boy, it's been very, very interesting.
What if they gave us snow and nobody came, as they used to say in the 60s about war? This is about as popular as war.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness gracious. Not good here. Oh, let me just see here. Oh, okay. So that was confirmed. Sorry, I just looked that up just now, and apparently the numbers are worse than I thought here. So we'll get into them right now. Lou, I'm sure you've heard of a little movie called Snow White. In fact, I hear, pray tell, you actually wrote about it. Very interestingly enough. Let me go ahead and get that.
Well, yeah, I did actually, and
it was.
I was laughing with Marvin, the editor, the chief, as we call him around the bullpen, and he kept saying he likes to put my editorials out on the weekend because that gives him a weekend because he doesn't have to work very hard at it. Ha! Ha! I say, ha! He's already getting complained to by people who expect those other stories to show up in time for their shows tomorrow. So, but anyway, I just sort of decided to do a what if, as they say, about this movie, because frankly, I haven't seen it. I'm not going to see it. I'm not going to review it. I'm not going to do all these reviews that are out there about if only they had, why didn't they make the movie my way? Well, they made their movie and they can lie in it, but I'm about what happens after you make the movie, and that's what this article is about. And I commend it to our viewers to go take a look at and see what you think.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat right now so you can go ahead and go to that article because it is worth reading for sure. And I like the theme park aspect to it that you were telling me about earlier, Lou.
Well, I'll give them a spoiler sort of. At the very end, I mentioned what happens if you're an average everyday family and you don't follow all this stuff and you don't know about all these controversies, and all you know about is you work, you do your job, you send your kids to school, you keep food on the table somehow, and you just want a little diversion. So you plan a trip to Disneyland and you go on an attraction called Snow White's Scary Adventures. And that's not the Snow White you saw in the movies recently. That's some other person entirely. What's the deal here? I mean, the disconnect is palpable. So, well, you'll see more about what I thought about that. But anyway, yeah, this thing is dead. It should be a career killer by now. I mean, how many times do you need a hint that this lady is not going to sell tickets? If she couldn't for Spielberg and West Side Story, what makes you think she can do it for you? But I see where her next gig is already set. She's going to do Evita in London on the London stage in a revival. And boy, considering the cost of stage tickets in London, you got to be a real glutton for punishment to go see that thing. But here's a little hint. There's no auto-tune in live theater.
Uh-oh. Not good. Yes, Marty.
Thank
you so much for joining us.
A compliment. It was a compliment to say that a singer had a belt voice. In this case, it's you better have a few belts before you go listen to it. So that sort of changes the definition entirely.
Yes, indeed. And apparently many people weren't interested in hearing Rachel Zegler belt those tunes, at least in the movie. And now we have our box office result right here from Luis Fernando. And by the way, Marty Snyder, thank you so much for getting us this information right here. That's it. Snow White will have to start charging for those pies, crashing and burning at the box office after Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot grossed just $14.2 million on the second 3-day weekend. A shocking 66.4% drop from the opening weekend. Worst drop ever for a Disney live action.
Gosh, so in other words, all those people that went out to see it the first weekend, all 12 of them, told their friends not to, is basically what this amounts to.
It would appear.
By the way, speaking of numbers, totally different subject, but I see Jan Monroe asking an interesting question. When
Please.
do y'all get memberships? How close are we to that?
We're close. we're, that's been an interesting little thing to work on there in the background. We are actually very close in debuting a brand new schedule for the week's content that includes the Genre Guys. Actually, Genre Guys is coming out tomorrow, so that is very, very good. And I've been thinking about what the membership benefits will be.
Yes,
and
we have to make some perks, don't we?
Yes. And definitely emojis for sure. But I'm also thinking about doing a special show just for the members here. And it's going to be something like Vash's VIP tours. It's going to be very, very interesting. We've got I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of things rattling around my head that don't necessarily fit the story structure that we have for our regular live shows. So that should be a lot of fun. Maybe we'll have some guests on that show as well, but that'll be really, really cool for members. Anyway, we're getting close to it. I guarantee you we're working on it, as we're working on quite a bit over here.
Well, the Genre Guys are happy to be here, of course, as well as that other place. Last night we did Disney's Robin Hood.
Ooh.
And upcoming, talk about eclectic. We're going from Disney's Robin Hood to a rather belated tribute to Mr. Gene Hackman and doing Crimson Tide.
Ooh.
And then after that, Excalibur, the story of Arthur, and the sword and the stone. And I made the thumbnail last night, and I had the shot from the movie of him pulling the sword out of the stone, and the caption was, "I was expecting a carousel behind me." So
That's funny.
well.
Some people asking about the cinema score here that they're seeing on screen. I'll say this: a B+ cinema score. It kind of depends on what kind of film you're talking about. This is supposed to be a 4-quadrant film, so a B+ is actually much more in line with an F. And yeah, that was definitely the kiss of death for this movie.
Dog years, isn't it? Well, if it's a this, it's really this.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing.
Somebody should come up with a rating system with a rating called "It Stinks," or "Don't Go,"
Yes.
or paint drying would be more amusing for you this weekend. Something like that. Yeah.
Especially because the cinema scores, for me, it's much more indicative of not the quality of the film, but really the word of mouth, right? So It really should be something like, "Hey, tell all your friends," or "I'm going to tell nobody." So this is kind of what this is, and that's reflected in the weekend's box
office. If they told nobody, it would have done better. But what they did is they told everybody, "Don't." See, not telling anybody. There's always a level beyond that, which is tell everybody you would rather catch COVID, or you'd rather get the plague, or shingles, or something than do this.
Oh man, that's a good point. That's a fair point right there. The old expression in the themed amusement industry was, "If you like your experience, you tell 3 people. If you don't like your experience, you tell 10 people." So that's terrible. Deadline here, though, says that apparently Jason Statham's Working Man actually was #1 at the box office this weekend, dethroning Snow White with less screens. So that's
I just watched Pro did a video about this article and how it tries to kind of cover things up a little bit, and he kind of devastated this guy that wrote it for Deadline in a video that was out this morning. Yes, that's where I saw it. So you'll want to check on that. He's saying, "Absolutely. Anthony, come on, stop shilling," basically. Like, what has Jenna Ortega got to do with it? Like he said, that movie was basically a streaming movie that they thought they'd make a few extra bucks by putting in the theaters. So comparison,
right?
None. Anyway,
Anthony D'Alessandro, very, very amusing right there. That's pretty good. Also, too, there's a couple of articles that have come out recently. One trying to really spin Rachel Zegler and what she has said.
Scapegoat and an icon. Oh my God.
I knew this would be your favorite article with that title right there.
So as an icon, what she should do is she should be a portrait in a wooden box on a wall somewhere. God. I'm sorry, but that whole use of that word that's become so common nowadays is one of my pet peeves. The degradation of our language. Iconic, iconic. I tell you, it's super iconic. It's quadra mega super double secret probation hydronic. I don't know. Anyway,
When I read that headline, I was like, "Oh, Lou's gonna love this," and boy, oh boy, this article really stretches.
it
But
kind of sounds like that bit from Rocky Horror about "I'll get you a satanic iconic." Anyway.
well, Rachel Zegler wasn't the only theme park. I'm sorry, entertainment news out there, especially as it relates to Hollywood. It looks like Hollywood's busting out all the stars it has in order to make this upcoming Marvel movie work here. I say
did
has.
You ever
because,
count how many of these there are? Because I just wonder, 26 chairs. So they're trying to outdo Mel Brooks as the 12 chairs, I guess, is the whole idea here. Yeah. Yeah, I said there should be one at the end that just says "and the kitchen sink."
But I think the quality of chairs here, I think, is what's most concerning. Not the fact that they are director's chairs, but the fact that a lot of these names, I don't know if they've really resonated with audiences thus far. Kelsey Grammer, of course, and a lot of X-Men stars, sure.
4, 5, 6 of those nobodies, you say, "Oh, I know him," right?
Right.
Nobodies. They're not nobodies. They're just temporary somebodies, I would call them.
Temporary somebodies.
Well, they're famous for their 15 minutes of Andy Warhol allocated fame, and then let's go on. Oh, Tom Hiddleston, him I know. Patrick Stewart, him I know. Ian McKellen, him I know. My God, 3 in a row that we know. Alan Cumming, yeah. Rebecca Ramjan, yeah. That's the Blue Naked Bride, right? Yes, James Marsden, Channing Tatum, and of course, inevitably, everybody all the way through this is going, where the hell is Pedro Pascal? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a better surprise if they hadn't already revealed it at Comic-Con there.
In production. Does that mean it's shovel ready? They're actually turning over dirt? Is that the official terminology they use? Yeah.
Shovel ready. Oh, they'll never live that down.
I just love it. Once was too many.
Well, okay. There is some news regarding this, though. Not on who's going to be featured, but actually who isn't. So we know we don't have Brie Larson or any of the Marvels cast right here.
What a shock!
Yeah, exactly. But no Benedict Wong, no Paul Bettany, no Benedict Cumberbatch, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, Elizabeth Olsen, no Don Cheadle, no Chris Evans, no Scarlett Johansson, Mark Ruffalo, that being Hulk, no She-Hulk.
You sound like you're doing the MCU version of John Lennon's Imagine. Imagine there's no Brie Larson. It's easy if you try. No Rachel Zegler. Above her only sky. I don't know.
I'm surprised I didn't rope in Rachel Zegler. But taking it back to like a more historical perspective, like Mad World, for instance. I mean, does this kind of stuff...
A genre guy's exploration was done of that film. Has that been here yet? I forget.
Yes, it has.
Yes, it has. So go look at it, everybody, and you'll see what a real all-star movie is about.
Oh, yes.
Yes! One of the funny things about Mad World, if you watch it, is that Milton Berle, when all those people are getting into a car and out of a car, always manages to be last so that he gets more screen time. In the modern version, they would have to cast Pedro Pascal, wouldn't they?
Oh, absolutely. Pedro Pascal has to be on that list there. But is this gonna work here? Because I think there was a lot of anticipation going into like the first Avengers or Avengers Infinity War. Now it's kind of like, well, the setup really doesn't work, and so we have brand new characters. Go ahead.
From a purely, marketing and commercial proposition perspective, the reason why you put a bunch of stars in is that they each theoretically bring their own portion of the audience. Do many of those people that we just saw go by actually bring ticket buyers to the table? Does I know Burt Bacharach, but Simu, Florence Pugh, and Kelsey Grammer too.
I don't See, that's the thing. I don't think they do. So, who you bringing in?
It's, because if somebody cannot, based on their own stardom, as Robert Downey can, carry a picture, then putting 12 people who can't carry a picture in the same picture doesn't do you much good, seems to me. I don't know. Maybe it'll be a huge hit. Well, I'll be wrong. But
well,
I just don't think anybody ever thought through the process when they came up with that big story of, hey, we're going to wipe out half these people or a third of the people or however many percentage it was that Mr. Snap Your Fingers and They Turn Into Dust did. But it's like, oh, so we spent all this time building these people up and then we're going to erase them. Is he laughing, saying, hey, but I'm the only one that made the picture happen because if I wasn't here, it wouldn't happen?
Absolutely. I think that's exactly.
By the way, all those not so famous people, if you add up all of them as far as what they're getting paid for being in this thing, I bet it doesn't come to half of what Downey is.
I think you're right, especially if there are multi-picture deals, I would think.
Yeah.
He's getting paid a lot of money to be, at least in this film.
And so he should. So, there you go, Marty. This budget's going to be $600 million conservative. Yeah.
I have heard at least.
Would you ever think you'd ever live to see a day when $600 million was considered conservative? And he's right,
yeah.
But
yeah.
Well, let's put it this way. Most of these names that, again, are not household in this country, but at least known to some degree, are any of them known overseas? Are any of them the people that the millions of China are waiting to go plunk down their yuan for or whatever it is?
I would be surprised if anybody in China really knew who Simu Liu was. And apparently that's one of the biggest reasons why he was incorporated into the MCU is to appeal to that country and their interests. But you're going to have to give more than that, like a good story, for instance. And I don't think this is necessarily going to have one. It's already, I think, convoluted in the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back, but not to play Iron Man. It's going to be interesting. I've heard at least $450 million for this film, and I have no idea where we're going there. Griffin, I believe. VashSky, Lou, I love you guys, but I have a quote for your assessment. Bree, I don't want to hear what some old white dudes had to say about the film. It wasn't made for you. Yeah, exactly. That's what.
Well, but that's the equivalent of Rachel saying, "Half the country, I hope you never have peace."
Exactly.
And it's like if you want seats aplenty that are empty, then you keep right on that way. In other words, you may not be making it for somebody, but you shouldn't be making it against somebody.
Right. Brie Larson walked so that Rachel Zegler could fly. That's about the best I can offer there. And just in case you all thought that they were done, apparently not. Hollywood Reporter reporting that
there's going to be more.
They're not done with the announcements. Yes, we'll see.
I don't think he looks good in green, by the way. They keep posing him in these green suits, and it's like,
yeah, not quite sure. It's a look. It's a look.
I guess. Whatever.
We'll have to see what they dress him up in the film.
Good chunk from the studio's Thunderbolts. Well, by God, that's going to make it a hit.
Ooh-wee! Thunderbolts. That's not the Guardians, but the Thunderbolts. That's what everybody's going to. We'll see. That movie does come out very, very soon.
Well, look, we have no idea what'll happen with that thing, or when, or if, or I would be real curious to know if they have a script with an actual ending that everybody's agreed on.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's the thing, right? Because Russo brothers are attached to this thing, which, by the way, that actually folds nicely into the next kind of story that we have here. Russo brothers are attached to this. They haven't really done all that well outside of Marvel, and while they are bringing a writer back, you do have to ask, like, how are we going to make this all work? Open question, especially without the anticipation.
It'll work. We're Disney. People will have to go. No, what's your problem? You have little faith. Bob will watch it 4 or 5 times, and he'll fix it if it's broken.
I like to think of Bob watching a film like Snow White 4 to 5 times, and I'm like, ooh.
Well, at least Snow White's relatively short. We know these big MCU movies run, what, 2.5, 3 hours, something like that?
Sure.
That's a lot of time between showers. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But speaking of the Russo brothers, you might have heard of a work that they did called Citadel. It was actually released under the Amazon MGM banner over there.
Oh, another one of those hits.
And yeah, I think they bankrolled that movie to the tune of $300 million, and it was a fantastic flop that everybody apparently hated, which was very, very interesting to see. Well, the gal behind that is now out somewhat at Amazon MGM. Jennifer Salke, out at Amazon Studios. Rings of Power Fallout raises questions as Amazon eliminated studio head position entirely. This is by Marvin Montanaro right here. Now, this is very important to some of the stories that we've been covering here on Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you regarding James Bond. So check this out. Let's see. Jennifer Salke, the longtime head of the Amazon MGM Studios, is stepping down from her role as a major executive shakeup that raises more questions than it answers. While Amazon is publicly framing the move as voluntary, the elimination of Salke's position and the redistribution of her duties suggests a quiet restructuring, one that may be tied to the costly and controversial failures under her leadership, most notably the Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. The announcement came via an internal memo from Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios chief Mike Hopkins, who wrote to the staff, Salke, quote, has decided that her next challenge...
She went to them one day and said, no, I don't want to be boss of your whole damn studio. What I really want to do is produce.
Yes. It will be on the production side, apparently.
Production company, unnamed for now. She gave it so much thought that she didn't come up with a name for the company for them doing that, right?
Look, this is why I love going through this stuff with you, because you just have a way of breaking this all down.
A flatter management model. Well, nothing's flatter than Rings of Power, from what I hear.
Oh man, nothing flatter than
there
that.
It is
indeed.
again. We decided to flatten our leadership structure.
Mm-hmm.
We're flattening, you see. Well, you know what they say: flatteningly will get you nowhere. Anyway.
Now,
streamline
apparently,
reporting line and accelerate decision making. Yeah, right. Well, they accelerated the decision making to tell her to just go look at the door.
it's not good. It's not good at all here.
Here's the problem. Seriously,
please.
When Bezos first began Amazon, everybody criticized. Oh my God, you're spending millions and hundreds and whatever, and you're not making any money. And he said, "Yeah, but I will," and he did. That doesn't happen twice necessarily or 3 times. It's the same kind of hubris as, well, we're Disney, they'll show up at our park even if it is 3 times too expensive and not as innovative and everything's broken. Narcissism, the dread crippler of young and old entertainment executives.
Speaking of that narcissism, it is very, very interesting because there was an old World of Reels piece that was published about Jen Salke. This going back actually in December of 2024, while the Bond negotiations were actually taking place. So we'll get back to that in just a moment.
Wait. What did that headline say? She's never seen?
Yeah, don't spoil it now, Lou. But yes, we all have an appreciation here for older cinema. Apparently, Jen Salke never did. A former Amazon bigwig is telling Hollywood Elsewhere that Salke's knowledge of Bond history is very limited, that she's never actually seen any Bond movies prior to the Daniel Craig era. The source goes on to state,
masculinity. Oh my, she's one of those.
Oh yes. The source goes on to state that Salke considers anything made before the 1980s to be a, quote, old movie, and she's not interested in the classics and never reads scripts. Quote, you can ask people from her NBC days about this, but agents and managers will tell you that she never read scripts. She just makes deals with talents like the Russo brothers and greenlight scrap like Red One. She's not material driven. A seasoned director additionally tells that 2 years ago, Sulky squashed a Conan the Barbarian remake from the Game of Thrones producers, calling the project Toxic Masculinity. The Bond impasse is on her. She's an experienced idiot with limited experience and unlimited resources. Ooh. My question is, Lou, before going on here, because apparently she's done some stuff with NBC.
Read the last sentence out loud, and I will continue it for you.
Prior
Just start
to
from the Bond impasse.
The Bond impasse. Yes. How much does a person with limited cinematic knowledge end up overseeing a major studio like Amazon MGM? Sulky's previous gig was as NBC Entertainment President. Under her presidency, several significant NBC shows were developed, like The Good Place, Master of None, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Her contributions as a Fox executive include Glee, Modern Family, and Bones. The Amazon MGM gig is her first significant movie-related position.
I should have said, I meant literally in the article. It says, the Bond impasse will likely carry on for a few more years, and my gut feeling tells me that when it's all said and done, Sulky will end up getting her way. Or the highway. Or the highway is the missing words at the end of that sentence. Her way or the highway. Well, It's a big, wide, beautiful road out there. Go for it. Jeez.
How does somebody like this be placed in the position that she was and leading the negotiations?
You know what you remind me of? Do you remember that famous line from MASH? How to do, what was it, reprobates or whatever like you ever managed to achieve a position of importance in the United States Medical Corps? We were drafted. But don't ask why, drink Bud Dry. Whatever. You know, as much as people curse the old studio system, Jack Warner and Daryl Zanuck and Louis Mayer and these guys, they had the pulse of the audience. It may have been that they forced their opinions on the audience, but they were opinions the audience had and liked and wanted. Now, not so much. Not so much.
Terrible.
We need to flatten management. Yeah, well, it's funny how a bunch of major mega flops will do that to a management, or should.
How do you not have somebody who knows anything about a pre-Daniel Craig era lead the negotiations with Barbara Broccoli? I mean, how does that not take place? It's so bizarre. People might remember we covered the Broccoli's from their perspective on the whole James Bond thing, but apparently this article goes into some detail based on the Wall Street Journal report about what happened with the Amazon MGM side of things. Yet, what did her in might have been Bond, James Bond. What an absolute coincidence. Sulky's exit occurred right as Amazon's $1 billion James Bond deal was being finalized. If you ask me, this is Hopkins/Bezos.
How do we know? How do we know that the understood, if not written into the contract deal with Barbara Broccoli was, you don't let that bitch run my Bond. You pay me all this money, and you tell her to go fish.
That's interesting.
I mean, I have no inside knowledge whatsoever, but these kind of things happen, you know.
Sure. Sure. I mean,
you know,
even as this article even says, it's like there's too much at stake and too much to lose. Why on earth would we trust Sulky, who couldn't be trusted with giving the Russos $300 million for Citadel? $500+ million for Lord of the Rings of Power. We've heard that's up to $1 billion there. And she apparently gave out a $100 million partnership deal with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. What?
And she thought she was being clever because she thought that, Disney's paying to make her a star in the Indiana Jones movie, right? I'm getting a free ride on Disney. Ha, ha, ha. Oops. Oops.
Yeah, exactly.
Oops.
Whoops. That didn't work out. That is stunning. That is absolutely wild. She does one decent thing. I think Fleabag, was it? Completely is part of the destruction of not just one but two franchises. And yet she gets $100 million. I mean, that's really something. Back in December, a Wall Street Journal report revealed the behind-the-scenes friction between Salke and Barbara Broccoli regarding the creative direction and the future of the Bond franchise. Salke reportedly started pushing for, quote, Marvel-style ideas to expand Bond, including several spin-off shows and movies. Broccoli, being the purist that she is, seemingly had no interest in adhering to Salke's Marvel-esque demands. Go ahead.
You know, here's the thing. If in those conversations she told Barbara she hadn't seen any of the movies except the Craig ones, you or I or anybody who is that foolish or that blind or that whatever you want to call it would have at least said it with an apology and a regret. She said it proudly. You can tell that. Well, I'm happy to say I've never watched. Who's this Connery guy? Some old white guy? Some old Scottish white guy? Some old, oh, give me a break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
anyway,
exactly.
Anyway, ding dong, the witch is dead. They'll hire a new one tomorrow.
Apparently, she referred to Bond as content, and that didn't go so well with Barbara Broccoli.
I wonder if she's the one who said they don't see him as a hero. Remember, somebody there said that, but they never gave the attribute as to who said it.
That's an interesting idea.
You know,
that's probably her, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, now, Lou, Bond's in much better hands. Oh wait, maybe it's not. Here we go from the official James Bond Twitter account. Amazon MGM Studios have announced that Amy Pascal and David Heyman will produce the upcoming James Bond film.
Oh, see,
Quote,
there it is again, that word. One of the most iconic characters.
The most iconic characters in cinematic history.
I don't think so. We'll see. We'll see. They could do it right. You never know, I mean, there's certain things that are so strong that you have to try really hard to break them, which, as we've seen, Disney is capable of, and all these other people are capable of. But I sure hope they hire a nobody. I mean, not one of these pseudo nobodies that's got his name on the back of a chair, but a real out of left field nobody, and sign him to a multi-picture deal and do with him what happened to Sean, until he can't stand it anymore. You have to cry all the way to the bank. Because all of these people that have been proposed, that are well known, that worked once.
Right.
Really. I mean, sure. The other guys had done stuff and people knew who they were, but really Roger Moore was the only one who really walked into it from one to the other. And he'd had, a lot of exposure. So, listen, I have very little hope. I got to tell you, and with all due respect to Broccoli and Wilson, that last Craig movie was an utter disaster, in my opinion. And I'm something of a Bond expert and fan, and then some.
Oh yes,
I think I've mentioned on here. I did one of my theses back in the olden days of film school, all about the conversion of the books to the movies and how it happened and why. And the key to Ian Fleming, in my opinion, was that he basically said to you, listen, I'm going to tell you a story that is totally ridiculous, totally impossible, totally fanciful, totally silly, totally crazy, totally out there, but suspend your disbelief and jump on and let's have fun. And he did it very, very, very well. And he did it there's a passage I always quote in this regard, and I wish I had it in front of me. I'd quote it directly. But in the one with Mr. Big and Baron Samedi and You Only Live. No, what am I saying? Where Bond has to get from New York to Miami. And he says, Bond got on the plane and looked out at the lights as it took off. And there is a 1-sentence, page-and-a-half paragraph about he considered so far. He'd been lucky to escape death, and he'd this, and he'd that, and he'd this. And, of course, if everything went wrong, then he would send somebody to replace him, and he'd be just another number on the wall, and blah, 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 blah. This dead, serious introspection by James Bond. And at the other end, the next is one line. Oh, to hell with it, he thought to himself as he got off the plane. And then it's right back into the fun action again. That's the kind of stuff he did. He took the work seriously. He took the money seriously. He loved the money, but he didn't take it as literature, and I'm afraid they basically backed Craig's Bond into a corner he couldn't get out of by the end of it. So, damn shame. Anyway, what else you got?
Well, a couple things here to wrap us up. One, Amy Pascal, responsible for 2016's Ghostbuster. That's not good right there. So, yeah, if we're thinking that this is going to go in the good way, I think again. But,
people are allowed to have a mistake or 2 or 12 or 15. This is Hollywood 2025.
That's true. I read the emails, though, with that Sony leak. And I don't know about Amy. I really don't. But you know where Jennifer Salke could end up? There's a little studio out there in San Francisco, thereabouts. That might be looking for a new head. Pretty soon.
Shoulders and spleen. If they only had a brain.
If they only had a brain. That being Kathleen Kennedy right there. Do you think, Lou, it is possible that Jen Salke could see...
Oh, hell, anything's possible. Anything's possible. Right. In this day and age, anything is possible. So, I mean, look at absurd misinformation spread by Elon Musk. Every article in every one of these damn things has a political, cultural, see, we were right, you were wrong, we told you so. And they're all proven wrong by the numbers. You can't lie about the numbers. You can lie about everything else. And since you're, see, look, if you're KK, if you're the Salke, any of these people, you can spin all kinds of crap because if somebody calls you on it, you can call them on it, and everybody knows where the real bodies were buried. But the numbers don't lie. The empty seats don't lie. The lack of bookings don't lie. The torn alligator skins on the ride don't lie. The sewage leaks don't lie. The fires behind the bakeries don't lie. They're all there. They're all real. The curse of living in a highly publicized, in a way, what's happened to the entertainment industry, and particularly true with, for example, the theme parks, is what happened to politics 6-8 years ago. Suddenly, when everybody's got a camera in their phone, everybody's a reporter, and nothing happens in secret. Remember that thing where I think it was Hillary fell down backstage at something, was helped getting into a car. And if nobody'd been there, in the past, you'd never hear about it. It would be hushed up. But imagine, for example, and this is no knock politically, imagine if we had cell phones in the 1940s and everybody had video of FDR in his wheelchair instead of how they hit him. It just would be a different thing. Or everybody had video of Churchill getting plastered, on good brandy and bad stories and cheap cigars. But it's a different world, and there is nothing secret. There is nothing. And the people with the hubris to think otherwise, I forget, did I tell it here last week? Or I know I told it recently, but the story about Abscam. Was that here or somewhere else? Anyway, Abscam was a sting operation that the FBI did many, many, many years ago to catch congressmen taking bribes, because there were several of them that they thought were. And they set up a phony Arab sheik in a townhouse in Georgetown. Right. And they invited these guys over to come take a attaché case full of cash in return for voting the way they wanted them to vote on certain issues. And because it was the days of primitive technology, the room where they had these meetings, they wanted to obviously videotape them, and they needed a lot of light because they were shooting through a one-way mirror, And this room was very, very bright. And none of them questioned it except one guy who said, "Why is it so bright down here?" And they told him, "It reminds the sheik of his native desert homeland." And he said, "Oh, okay, fine. Give me the money." He bought that. He actually bought that.
Man.
And so, we live in a world of exposés. So,
Well, this is some encouraging stuff right here. We'll get to our super chats in just 1 second. I want to go ahead and highlight this. The only way Bond works now is if Pascal is completely locked out of any creative decisions. He's actually okay at putting together production teams. So there you go. That's encouraging, at least. We'll have to see.
And before that, we have a very nice, several very nice.
Oh yes,
Supers.
Mark Daly with $20. Oh yes, Mark Daly with $20. This is why I did a 3-line Bond eulogy a couple of weeks ago. Fans of traditional Bond, like us, won't like what Pascal does to the character. Well, will we get Timothy Chalamet, Cynthia Erivo, Nkudigawa, or Dylan Mulvaney as Bond? Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Ooh.
I'd like my Bud Light shaken, not stirred.
That was great. That was a great line right there, Lou.
Your winnings, Mr. Bond, James Bond, and don't call me Mr. How dare you presuppose my pronouns? Well, that's Walter, and shoot him. Or, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be a Walter. Maybe it would be, that's it. You redo the first film, and when he tells him, listen, give me the Beretta, it's a lady's gun. Yeah, so you want to make something out of it? Anyway.
That's great.
Stormweaver gave us a wonderful.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Mark Daly. And Stormweaver. I don't have that clip, so that's going to have to be how it is. With Kitty, $25.
Dreamweaver every time I see his name.
Oh,
Dream Stormweaver. Da, 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 da,
I gotcha. Good afternoon, LW Ghost and Vash. Thanks for the entertaining show while I work on month's end. All on month end. I believe. All the best and take care of yourselves. Thank you so much, Stormweaver. Very much appreciate that.
Isn't that where Bilbo lived? Month end? No, that was Bag End. Well, same difference.
Oh, okay. The Kurigawa. The N is silent. Well, I did not know that. See, I'm still getting used to some of these new names in Hollywood right there. We'll have to see who plays Bond. But I do like your idea. If you're not going to go with somebody who kind of everybody wants or everybody has on their cast list, maybe going with somebody who's brand new, who really embodies the role is the best way to go.
Yeah, I think so.
Indeed.
Speaking of music,
yes,
we have a jukebox selection for you again this week. Did you get it into the notes? Because I sent it to you kind of late.
I sure did. Excellent.
Well, for those of you who are fans of the Henry Mancini of a certain era, where he also did, and it's a little bit similar to this, the mystery movie theme. But I found a wonderful suite of the music from The Silver Streak, where Henry Mancini took on the whole issue of how do you do a music for a train movie, and boy, did he hit it just right. And so that link is in the description, and you can listen to some movie music sometime if you like. There you go. And great picture, by the way. We should do that one on the Genre Guys sometime. Interesting picture because, of course, they couldn't shoot it anywhere in the U.S. And I don't know how many people know why. But when How the West Was Won was made, there was that whole scene with the logs on the train. And they wound up, I think, killing one guy and cutting the legs off another because it got loose. And at that point, American Railroad said, nope, sorry, Hollywood, you can't use our rails or our trains anymore. So they shot all that stuff up in Canada. Blame Canada. Although the big finale where the train burst through the terminal at the end, that was done actually on a hangar at Burbank Airport that was an old Lockheed hangar, because a friend of mine gripped on that show and was there when it smashed. But that was a fun movie. It was a mellow, nice, wonderful, suspenseful, a movie that shouldn't have worked because everybody, trains, big deal. I like airplanes. But no, it did work. And that was The Silver Streak. But anyway, the music is a lot of fun. And hope you enjoy it.
Absolutely. I actually know about the train thing. That's Interesting. I could definitely see why the railroads wouldn't be interested in Hollywood anymore following an
No,
accident
they
like
just
that.
said our insurance can't take it, guys. So that was the end
Ooh.
of that for a while. They're sort of back in business again, but.
Right.
So Ron Bradley, why German food for Kathleen Kennedy? Somehow, I mean, I could see Irish, but I don't know.
Kathleen Kennedy
Do you
should.
know something I don't about her culinary tastes? I don't know.
I don't know. Kathleen Kennedy should retire to a cooking show. German foods from Kathleen Kennedy's kitchen. Um,
Indiana Jones and the Wiener Schnitzel from hell. Um,
well,
I get it. The bad guy is a sauerkraut. Anyway, all of you lobbying for Henry Cavill, no. I love him. I think he's great. And no.
Well, wait a minute. I thought you said that he was born to play the role.
Did I? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe once upon a time, but I just think, Superman and it's just too many things. I think he's bigger than that. And yeah, German foods. There's sort of a connection there, I guess. I'll just leave that one to Ron's culinary imagination. I like a good schnitzel as much as the next guy, but
indeed.
These are a few of my favorite things: schnitzel with noodle and whatever poodles. Yes, it was der Wiener Schnitzel, but it was a hot dog chain. So anyway, der Wiener Schnitzel, yes. Which
I think we'll tease people for the next T3PO Live that'll be occurring on 3 p.m. I believe Eastern on Tuesday. Following the
it's funny. Mandalorian's talking about Man from U.N.C.L.E., which was awful. He was great, but anybody who knew the real Man from U.N.C.L.E. knew that wasn't the Man from U.N.C.L.E. But the funny thing is, I have been passing the culture on to one of my grandsons by sending him box sets of various shows from the day. The first one I showed him on YouTube, and he thought it was so funny. I got him the whole box of Batman, 66, because I showed him the famous scene about. I think I have it.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Yes, so he loved that. So then I sent him F Troop, but now I'm sending him the Man from U.N.C.L.E., the real one, with Napoleon Solo and Ilya Kuryakin. And when I was telling his mother about it on the phone the other day. Oh, that's what the guy from NCIS? It's kind of the television show equivalent of, that was Paul's other band, the Beatles, for all the Wings fans. But, of course, David McCallum was Ilya Kuryakin. And for tying it back to Bond, Napoleon Solo, do you know where that name came from? Did I tell you this?
No.
The guy in Goldfinger who gets crushed in the car, that's Napoleon Solo.
Okay.
Because Fleming was sort of reusing stuff because he was a consultant on U.N.C.L.E. So anyway, I think we went into all that when we did that to death. That's right.
I don't think we did. If you want to tell it.
Anyway.
Well, to give people a little preview on the cinematic aspect of this whole thing, and the theme park connection to it for T3PO Live at 3 p.m. Eastern, on Tuesday, we have this story out of Variety. Legend of Zelda live-action film sets March 2027 theatrical release from Sony Pictures. Apparently, they're also saying that any stars that will be cast will be on multi-picture deals, talking about as many as a trilogy. So that's really, really
If you make
interesting.
one, you got to make three, don't you? That word trilogy has gone into the language as being, I don't know. You want to know what's wrong with the cinema today?
Please.
Go look over there on the right. Flophouse America review, a profoundly realistic portrait of a preteen living in abject poverty. I'm sorry for the preteen living in abject poverty, but that's not going to get me to watch it.
Right.
So my old Beverly High alum, Richard Chamberlain, has passed. And also Bruce Glover, Mr. Wint of Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd, speaking of James Bond, in Diamonds Are Forever. But
tough stuff. Tough stuff indeed.
Yeah, he was great. That was that great scene where his perfume bottle, his cologne bottle gets smashed in Bond's pocket, and he wakes up in that underground pipe, and he's looking at a rat, and he says, well, one of us smells like a Taj handkerchief, and I'm afraid it's me.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
Tough stuff. I thought when we came on this show that somebody might pass away. Unfortunately, that is indeed the case. Very, very sad. But in maybe happier news, there are some distinct connections to this Legends of Zelda release here too.
Yes.
Expansion pads for Epic Universe. We'll go into all of that on T3PO Live because I think that's
because a lot of rumor was that it was going to go where the Atlantis stuff was at Islands of Adventure, but suddenly now they're talking over here. Should be interesting, which makes you wonder what will they do with the Atlantis stuff at Islands. You probably know because you ain't telling. I can see that knowing smile on your face that says Vash has the inside dope. But
we got a few things from some of our sources and on the inside.
Get rid of that terrible restaurant that other people like, but I can't stand.
They put up a new banner there, Lou.
What does it say?
Odyssey? The Mythos.
I meant
the Mythos. Mythos. Yes.
Yeah.
It now says 10 years in a row, best theme park restaurant,
which is just insane. I mean, come on! If you don't think any of the 3 or 4 great restaurants at Epcot are better than that, then you've got.
I don't believe you.
I mean, the idea that a restaurant run by Paul Bocuse and Pierre Troisgros is not better than that astoundingly noisy, astoundingly mediocre place over there. It's just silly. But hey,
there you go. In case you don't believe me,
I believe you.
I got it right here. 10-time winner, #1 theme park restaurant in the world, right there.
I just can't even begin to fathom. I wonder who handed that out. Does it say something? Theme park.
I thought it was Theme Park Insider.
So them.
Niles' place.
Oh, that unimpeachable source.
I like Robert Niles. I don't know about all that.
I got to assume they're pushing it hard because their own restaurant, certainly Atlantis and the Pan Asian one at the hotel at Epic are gonna put it to shame.
Indeed.
It's just so damn noisy in there. I mean, have you been in there? It's just
it
makes Rainforest Cafe seem like a babbling brook. That's
a pretty good one right there. That was also one of my favorite jokes on Mind Share and Nature's Wonderland. Babbling Brook.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's always babbling.
Yeah, well.
Terrible.
No, Never Land because we never go there. There's all those lines.
What do you got
Albert
coming up?
Falls.
Yeah, exactly. What do you got coming up on the genre, guys, Lou?
Well, as I said, already in the can, we've got several wonderful movies.
Yes.
Looker and Big Trouble in Little China and Robin Hood we just did. And next up, as I said, we're doing Crimson Tide and Excalibur. And then we're talking about Mary Poppins, maybe. So we shall see. Because after we got finished recording last night, my wonderful wife said, you are the genre guys, but you should do some musicals and some stuff that we like. And I said, what? And she came up with Mary Poppins as one of several suggestions. And I said, from your lips to the genre guys' ears, or whatever we call those things sticking out of our heads. But that's the next few. And then who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of. And then they'll all come here, and we'll all dance and sing and celebrate the fact. And I just keep beating everybody over the head with this, but I'm going to keep on doing it. It hasn't been that long since good movies were abundant. We're not talking 40, 50 years. We're talking 10. Okay.
Yes.
And as I said in my premier example of my own confused thinking on that Park Place way back when, the lead time stuff. In fact, I just read an article. What did I do with it? Let's see. Somewhere here, somebody noticed what I noticed, which is that the part of the problem with Snow White was that they thought the world was going to continue to be woke when they started it 5 or 6 years ago. And surprise, surprise. Yeah.
You zigged when you should have zagged, I think is the expression right there.
Yeah. Well, it shouldn't take 5, 6 years. I mean, I'm looking at funny memes that I've posted of, here's one of Disney's Old Yeller with a black dog. And here's one with Bob Iger and Lloyd Austin, the former Secretary of Defense. And it says, this was Babylon Bee. Disney awarded defense contract after producing more bombs than Lockheed Martin. And let's see.
Love me. It's brutal.
And then they have morphed Danny Trejo into Snow White. And Walt Disney's Bambi with a black goat.
With the black goat. I've seen that one before.
Yeah.
That one's a pretty good one. Some people didn't get it, though, which is really unfortunate.
Well, some people never get it.
That's true.
Some people. Oh, and the one with, what's the guy's name? Leah Thomas in his swimsuit with a trident, and it's called Aquaman. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Oh, and Dylan Mulvaney as Pocahontas, of course. There's a version of that out there too.
Dylan Mulvaney as Pocahontas.
You don't have to look very far to find these things, but I somehow do.
Oh boy. Well,
anyway, everybody, we hope you have been amused, entertained, informed, enlightened, all that kind of stuff. And if not, don't tell anybody. And if so, hit the damn like.
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you have not hit the subscribe button yet, you all are going to be redirected to a video premiere, actually, on Follow the Bradley's Fun from Ron there. His channel right there. He's going to be, I believe, doing some stuff. Talking about Rachel Zegler. That should be a lot of fun over there. Ron's a great guy. Produces some great content. So we'll go ahead and redirect you over there. Afterwards, you're going to be joining Barry Plays 28 over there at Disneyland, his live stream audio session. So we have all kinds of content in order to round out your Sunday. Hopefully you enjoyed your time with us. Please hit the subscribe button on your way out. And until next time, on the next Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you next Sunday. Thanks, guys.
Adios, muchachas.
Absolutely.